GP Insights, a Health Cert podcast. Practical advice for busy GPs on how to treat with confidence and grow their practice.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name is Paul Elmsley. I'm the founder and CEO of Health Cert. I'm here with Dr. Joe Kostorich, who's an expert in the area of medicinal cannabis and part of our wonderful faculty who's put together our program. And we've had lots of questions come from you around this because it's obviously a new and a sort of relatively new area of medicine and lots of questions. And we're very grateful for Joe and his many years of experience to be able to pick his brains today. So, hi, Joe. How are you?
G'day, Paul. Good to be with you.
Excellent. So today I've got a group of questions around sort of general statistics, evidence related to medicinal cannabis. So I'll start you with the first question. So how many medicinal cannabis prescribers are there in Australia at present?
Yeah, look, and that's increasing almost every day at the moment. So I think whatever answer I give you is probably going to be out of date by tomorrow. It's something getting in excess of 1,500, I think, as at the end of December. The TGA put out a paper, I think in late 2019 for a Senate inquiry, and I think at that stage it was already around about the 1,000 mark. So, look, you know, by the time people have finished watching this, there might well be another prescriber somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised as even by now it's getting close to 2,000. The TGA has that data; they don't always publish it.
Yeah, and look, and because it is new and or growing and expanding, it is, as I said.
And I would add, there are, as the end of December 2020, 180 authorised prescribers as well.
And then just as far as, you know, number of patients per month or number of scripts per month, Joe, have you got any sort of data on how much?
Yeah, again, that's freely available on the TGA website, and at the moment it's running at around about 6,000 per month, and that's approvals. So that's not necessarily new patients because an approval might be renewed. Just to put it in perspective, in 2018 there were 2,500 approvals for the entire calendar year, and that since then has gone up quite significantly to, I think in total, probably we're getting close to 100,000 approvals all up, and that's SASB approvals, so authorised prescriber prescriptions are in addition to that. And yeah, running at 6,000 plus SASB approvals per month at the moment, and that's up from 3,000 to 4,000 a month about a year ago, and as I said, 2,500 for the entire calendar 2018.
Excellent. What's the evidence base to date for medicinal cannabis use?
Yeah, look, and I think as people do the course, they're going to find there is a truckload of references if they want to go onto PubMed and just put in a search for medicinal cannabis and whatever condition you're interested in, you'll find there is a lot of research out there in chronic pain, in Parkinson's, in multiple sclerosis, in chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting, in cancer symptoms, in dementia care, in anxiety and insomnia, and in autism. There's a lot of research out there. Including the Cochrane Collaboration has done reviews on use in chronic pain. The National Academies of Engineering and Sciences in America has looked at this. So anybody who wants to say there is no evidence, I'll absolutely take issue with that because there is
excellent
quite a lot.
Yes, exactly. And as I said, it's sort of it's got a very long historical record of obviously its use, but obviously in the modern Western world, I suppose, as far as 20 years or so, as obviously governments, made it legal, and obviously some of the research, and I think, as I said, it's a little bit different to what we'd be used to, obviously, with large drug companies investing millions and millions and millions of dollars because obviously they're trying to get products approved into market. So the other question I have for you then is, are there any randomized control trials showing significant benefits of CBD use in certain conditions? So is there specific areas that maybe have a lot more evidence to it for any particular reason?
Yeah, look, probably chronic pain is going to be where there's the most evidence because it's the biggest and most major use. I think there's been about 600 plus studies done in the last 5 years or so. The Lambert Institute, which is attached to, I think it's the University of Sydney, has around about $35 million to invest over a period of time. I think it began in 2018 to do studies in medicinal cannabis. There's a company called Zalira, which is a listed company, which is doing studies in autism and insomnia. There's work being done at a number of universities around the country, and in conjunction with a number of companies. A company that I do some work with, Little Green Pharma, is involved with the University of Sydney in what's called the Quest Initiative, which hopes to be the biggest trial of its kind in the world, looking at the impacts of medicinal cannabis on quality of life. So there's, over the next 5 years or so, and especially in Australia, because of the model we've adopted, which has been a bit different to that in North America and Canada, we're going to see a lot of additional research findings come in. So it's not that there isn't data and research out there. There is, and as you said before, it's been used for thousands of years in a number of human cultures. But we're going to see a lot more.
Excellent. And as you sort of mentioned in the course, when we talk about the different conditions, then we talk about obviously the evidence around that as well. Are TGA approvals for specific patients? I know
absolutely, yeah, for a specific patient for a specific indication. So when you do your application, and I think we probably touched on this in one of the other sessions, Paul, that yes, you do need to detail the individual patient, the individual formulation, and the indication. And there's a drop-down box. So you can select variably chronic pain, cancer symptoms, anxiety, insomnia, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis. Not going to list them all, but there is a drop-down box. And if what you're wanting to prescribe for isn't in that drop-down box, and that would be probably not that common, you can put in a different indication. And if the TGA does have evidence for it, and I mentioned before in another, I think, session we did, Paul, 130 plus conditions, then they will approve it.
Excellent. Yes. So if you do want more information on that, our first webinar on this particular topic does go into much greater depth if you hadn't a chance to catch that one. And then how much does CBD or medicinal cannabis cost the patient on average? Just sort of.
Yeah, well, that's a little bit like how long is a piece of string, and the prices are coming down as production is increasing. Then volume cost is going down. The critical question is how much does it cost per day? Because, for example, if you get and most of the products in Australia at this stage are oils, you may have a 50 ml bottle or a 25 ml bottle, and it's a matter of how much you need to take of that per day, rather than the cost of the bottle, which is fixed. Look, generally, it's going to be at the moment somewhere between $3 and $10 a day would be the estimate. Obviously, if people are needing to take slightly higher doses, they're going to go through their bottles more quickly. Some people do surprisingly well on a very low dose, and a bottle lasts them longer than you might expect. But look, the old cup of coffee analogy always gets trotted out. It's not unreasonable to say that it's going to be somewhere between 1 and 2 cups of coffee per day for most people. Now, again, not everybody buys takeaway coffee. Got to understand that. My personal experience and talking with colleagues in the field is that nobody really does seem to balk at the price. Now, whether that's because by the time people are coming in to inquire about medicinal cannabis, they've already done a little bit of homework and research and already have some feel about that. I can't comment, but you just have to be straight up with people and say to them, look, this is what it's going to cost. And I think in my own memory, I think so far out of nearly a couple of hundred people, I think one has said, look, that's just not going to work for me. And that's absolutely fair enough, obviously. It's a discussion you need to have with the patient. There is no PBS coverage at this stage. One private insurer, can I mention the name?
Oh, yes, you can. Go for it.
So HIF, they do cover it on one of their tables under ancillary. And if people are on trials, and there are a number of trials, and I mentioned the Quest initiative as one, there are other trials. If people are qualified to go into those trials, then there may be some subsidy in those cases.
Yeah, and I think obviously the sort of patients you're dealing with are looking for solutions to fairly significant problems. So, when you're living in pain or otherwise, you would probably almost do anything to obviously alleviate it.
That's a critical point, because, and I think we spoke also in a webinar, Paul, about doctors being a bit reluctant about either A, charging for their own services, and B, what people might pay. But these people have all been through a whole host of other treatments, and they're still having their quality of life impaired. They're still variably in pain, or can't sleep, or have other symptoms. And if their quality of life is improved, they really are, they regard that as good value for their money. Is my experience. And the worst case scenario is that they've been on it for a couple of months, and yes, they have invested a little bit of money, and they find it hasn't helped them. They're not obligated to continue. They can stop if it's not helping. If the benefits are not there, then you don't continue.
And is it one of these sort of products, once again, that let's say you've got a patient, you want to start them off, you put them on, a lower dose formulation, see how that works, then either increase obviously the frequency of its consumption, or look at obviously, a higher ratio or a high quality product? I mean, how do you sort of approach that from first time patient use, to really understand how obviously they're reacting to it?
Yeah, look, and that's again another question we could talk for hours, Paul. But look, essentially, it's a combination of factors. It's always starting at a low dose, regardless of whether you're using pure CBD or combinations, or even through to high THC. It's probably pretty rare that you're going to start there unless it's palliative care. But you can always start at a low dose, because some people will surprise you and do well at a lowish dose. And then the formulation you select may be governed by factors including, their employment and or requirements to drive, maybe, influenced by other medications that they're currently on. And then, yes, you can sort of, as with blood pressure medications, if you don't get a response at a lower dose, you can slightly increase the dose, increase it again to a point where you feel this is the maximum reasonable dose. If there's no response at that point, then it may be about looking to change, formulation, but very, very individualized. And to give the example of blood pressure, you might reach a maximum dose of a blood pressure medication and their blood pressure isn't coming down. You might say, we need to stop this and start something else. Or it might be we need to add a little bit of another thing. So people can be on 2 different medicinal cannabis products. Again, a bit like you can be on 2 blood pressure drugs. Very, very personalized.
Excellent. Well, Joe, that's the questions I've got for you today. So I really do appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, please subscribe so you can get updates whenever we post more. And please share it with others. And for more info, please go to healthcert.com.